So it's no secret that software engineers make a lot of money. If you go to levels.fyi, pesa.com, or even Glassdoor, you'll see these super high salaries for like senior staff or even entry-level software engineers, right? But what these numbers don't really share with you, levels.fyi does, but what they don't really share with you is that the compensation of a software engineer is mostly in the form of RSUs, or restricted stock units. So in this video, I'm going to talk about what RSUs are, typically how companies offer them to you, and then 3 strategies that you can use to leverage these RSUs to make the most of your income. All right. But before we get started, be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications so you don't miss out on future videos. So what are RSUs? RSUs are short for restricted stock units. And typically what they are is just stock in the company that you work for. Caveat, I'm only going to really be focusing on publicly traded companies. Startups also have what's called stock options, and I'm not necessarily going to cover that in this video. But anyway, let's get back to it. So RSUs are actual stock in the company that you work for. So if you work for Facebook, Google, Twitter, Amazon, Netflix, not Netflix, any of those companies, they'll give you RSUs, restricted stock units, as a part of your total compensation package, right? So it'll be broken up into your base salary, your RSU grant, and then your annual bonus target. So for example, if you make $100,000, they might give you a 15% bonus target, which is $15,000, and they might give you, say, $300,000 or $400,000, let's make the numbers easy, $400,000 stock over 4 years. So what that means is they'll give you $100,000 each year over the next 4 years. And typically the way this works is if you're joining the company to start off is you'll have what's called a cliff. So the cliff ensures that you stick around at least for the first year to get your stock. So you won't get any stock until you reach your 1-year company anniversary. So you'll have to wait a year to get that stock, but you'll get 1 year's worth all at once. So for example, going back to our example, if you have $400,000 in stock over 4 years, after your first year, you're going to get $100,000 worth of your company's stock in 1 day, basically. So that's a big thing that you need to realize when joining some of these publicly traded companies as a software engineer, is that you're going to get your stock, but there might be a cliff to get that initial award. So as I said before, RSUs, they vest over some sort of schedule, right? Typically it's 4 years. And so you have 400,000 over 4 years, right? And then, so say your vesting schedule comes, or you vest your initial stock grant or any subsequent stock grant, you're going to have this large influx of cash that you can do whatever you want with, right? So there are 3 ways you can kind of go about dealing with this influx of cash, right? So you can either leave it where it is, so leave it invested in your company. So say if you have Facebook stock, you're going to leave it in Facebook stock. You can sell that stock and then reinvest it in your own index fund or whatever, or you can just sell the stock and use it as cash. So you can buy a Tesla, you could put a down payment on a house, you could do a lot of things, right? So I'm going to touch on all 3 of these. So the first option that you have is you can leave it invested with the company, right? So if you work at Facebook, you can say, all right, I'm going to actually leave this stock as is. I'm not going to touch it, and I'm not going to do anything with it. I'm just going to say, I want Facebook to grow in stock price, then my stock is going to be worth more and more. And that's a common sort of way of going about things. Like if you're in a high growth company, you may want to leave a chunk of your stock in there. But it also comes with risk, right? So if you work at a company that has high volatility, your stock might be worth less than what it was granted at, right? So let's say you were granted, let's say a stock is worth $100 a share and you're granted 4 shares, right? Now, if the stock goes down to 90, right, it's not worth $400 anymore. It's now worth $360, right? So you still get that money, but you're not getting the full amount, right? Conversely, if it goes up, you get the additional money as well. So that's something to keep in mind when you're considering either selling or doing whatever, or keeping your stock as a part of that company. Number two, possibility two, is you can actually sell the stock, transfer it over to a different brokerage or whatever brokerage you use, and then reinvest that money in something that tracks the S&P, for example, or something along those lines. What this does is it actually decreases the risk of that money decreasing in value or being as in a volatile company. So if you work for like Snapchat or any of those other, like Pinterest or Airbnb or any of those smaller sort of high volatility companies, then you might want to think about pulling it out and potentially putting it in an index fund or something along those lines. Now, disclaimer, I am not a financial advisor, so this is just some thoughts that I go through when I'm considering selling or keeping my RSUs with the company. Okay, so the third option is purely just using the sale of the stock to live your life, right? So you can sell, you can get $100,000 or $70,000 all at once, and then you can put a down payment on a house, you can buy a car, so you can buy like a Tesla all at once, or you can pay off debt. So these are all, this would be a great option if you wanted to pay off debt or do some other things that might enhance your lifestyle or something along those lines, right? So personally, I'm coming up on a vesting date for myself, and truthfully, I'm actually going to take step number two, which is sell my stock and then reinvest it in an index fund because I kind of want more stable, longer term growth. And I don't want like such a big chunk of my net worth to be tied to one company necessarily. So in this video, we talked about what RSUs are, typical vesting schedules, what refreshers are, and so on. And I also gave you three options. You can either sell the stock and reinvest it, or you can sell the stock and spend it, or you can leave the stock in the company that awarded it to you. All of them have their pros and cons, and I'd like to see what your thoughts are in the comments below about what you might consider doing with your RSUs. All right, thanks.